Hi, my divine money peeps. How are you today? Welcome to Sunday. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad I'm here. I'm so glad we're here together. So here I am live. We are going to be talking about, again, the divine ego. So this is part two in a four-part series that I'm going to be doing this month for January over the money goddess card, the divine ego. So first of all, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Beth Ann McMerrick. I am the founder and creator of Divine Money Mastery. I'm an author, I'm a healer, I'm a spiritualist, I'm an accountant. I've been an accountant for over 25 years, and now what I do, I'm a holistic financial mentor. So what that means is I bring together money and spirituality and to assist you in healing that relationship with money, and to not only on the mental, the mindset piece around money, but also the physical. How do we create money? How do we manage our money? How do we file our taxes? How do we start a business? How do we create products? And really to shift and transform this financial relationship that we have with money in our world. And, because the saddest thing to me is to see that level of poverty and the scarcity mindset that continues to run rapid within our homes, within our communities, within our states, and within our countries. And the only way this is going to shift and change is by each one of us individually taking control of our own belief system around money and our relationship with money. Because if you allow yourself to have money in your life, there's so much more healing that can happen. But not only that, you can create so many beautiful, wonderful things within yourself, within your business, within your communities that can help and serve other people to increase their life and to shift their life into a happier, more joyful life. So that's why I do what I do, is to shift and transform that financial relationship that we have on this planet so that we can create more love and light in this world. So the divine money goddesses are a set of oracle cards that I wrote to specifically assist us in shifting that mindset around money. And this week, like I said, is the divine ego. And this is part two. And I just wanted to first start off with reading this section, because the concept that we're going to be talking about in this particular live video is the concept of I am centered in self rather than self-centered ego. So the divine ego is the last card in the set of 44 cards that I have. And what really surprised me when I first downloaded these cards, so I downloaded them. They were printed in 2016, so I've been working with them all over the world for quite a few years now. And when I first got the download for the divine ego, I was like, what? The divine ego? Are you kidding me? Like, I was just like, okay, I have no idea what that's going to be about. But what I had known at the time is that I had always been taught, like, to get out of our ego, because we've been told, like, our ego, it's about being selfish, it's about being pompous, it's about thinking you're better than other people, and we certainly don't want to think that we're better than any people. And so I knew that when I got the download for the divine ego, I was like, what am I gonna, like, what is this all about? So I definitely went on a journey to, like, figure out, what does this really mean, the divine ego? Is there really a different side to the ego? Like, there's a shadow side and a light side to the ego? Just like our money, there's a light side and there's a shadow side to the money. It's all about our own perspective and our own relationship within our money and with our ego. So with the divine ego, the concept that, like I said, we're going to talk about is the divine ego is centered in self rather than self-centered ego. So I want to read this section here of the card that came with it. It says, the divine creation of life, the spark of God that you are, is who you are. By the complete and total acceptance of love and gratitude for yourself and your life path, you will open a space to allow your spirit self to embody your human self, creating heaven on earth. Centered in self, I am at peace with the divine in me. I free myself to completely express me as my divine self accepting and loving all of me. Breathe that in, breathe it out. And that's what it is accepting and loving all of me, all of you, accepting that shadow side and that light side of you. You know, as a mother, I've been a single mother, was a single mother for quite a few years. And, you know, as a mother, what we want, I know what I wanted was for my children to feel confident in who they were, to love who they were, to appreciate who they are. And somewhere along the line that happens to us as we grow up as an adults, we're told, you know, not to think too highly of ourselves, not to think too big of ourselves, you know, that we've got to limit this thoughts about ourselves. But then in the whole spiritual realm and in this self-improvement realm, it's shifted back to, we get to love ourselves, we get to love who we are. And I find that that's a huge challenge for a lot of adults out there now to like say, yeah, I love myself, because we're too afraid to say that means we're egotistical, or that we think that we're better than somebody else. And what this means with the divine ego in this heart-centered self. So the self-centered ego is that we think we're the only one that's good enough, we're the only one that's smart enough, we're the only one that's capable, that we're better than everybody else. And what happens is we also tend to like find things outside of ourselves to show that we are all that in a bag of chips, that we're everything, that we're so much better than everybody. And that's how one of the ways that we've gotten ourselves as a world population in trouble financially is because our ego telling us that we have to have all the bling, we have to have the big house, we have to have the new iPads, we have to have the new, you know, whatever it is, diamonds. And I mean, the diamond teeth, I don't understand why they get the diamond teeth. That I don't get that. I mean, how do they eat with diamond teeth? But we have shifted, instead of loving and accepting ourselves for who we are, where we are financially, emotionally, spiritually, to instead going outside of ourselves and having everything around us be the proof of what makes us an important being in this planet. And I'm here to tell you that you already are that important, beautiful being. You are that spark of God already present in who you are. It's about us believing that and allowing ourselves to love ourselves completely. I was raised here in Utah pretty much most of my life, and I was part of a very dominant religion that's here in Utah. And I was plagued by this story that I was taught about Adam and Eve, and how Eve had destroyed Adam, and she's destroyed the whole, you know, tree of life and love and energy for us because she ate this apple. And it was something that was really that was taught to me constantly. And as a woman, as a girl, I thought, you know, I am cursed forever because Eve ate this apple and she did these things that created havoc and chaos in the Garden of Eden. And so I thought, no matter what I did, no matter how good I was, no matter how big of a house I got, no matter how much money I made, no matter how good my kids were, or how good of a mother I was, or an employee, or a wife, or how clean I kept my house, I was still going to be damned and not loved because I was a woman, because Eve ate this apple. And I was in a shamanic journey a few years ago. And just, again, working on my own self-love and caring and loving myself. And in this journey, I sat next to a tree, and God came and was sitting on this branch up there. And you know, God, of course, was like, I love you, we love you, you know, you're awesome. But I was like, but God, Eve, she ate the apple. I'm cursed forever. And God just laughed at me and started throwing apples down at me and said, eat as many apples as you want. And I was like, what? Eat as many apples as you want. eat as many apples as you want. Our life is here to enjoy. Of course, it means being in alignment and love with ourselves and being centered, being heart-centered, being ego in our heart, the divine ego, centered in self means we're centered in our heart self, loving every bit of who we are, but not only loving ourselves as much, but loving everybody else as much, because everybody around us is a divine spark of God. They may not be on the same path as you. They may not have the same beliefs. They may not have the same religion. They may not even have the same color skin, or they may not have, your values as a human being, but they are still a divine spark of God. I mean, there are 100,000 different types of trees and leaves and branches and things, just like there are hundreds of thousands of different types of people. And each one of us have a different personality and have a different gift to bring to this world. And by being centered in ourselves means that we're loving ourselves 100% completely. We're loving that shadow side and that light side of us, but we're also loving that in other people. And even though it's hard sometimes it's hard to love other people in who they are and in their darkness and in their shadows. But if we can remember that there's that heart self, that there's that divine spark within them, that they deserve that love from us as well. So the heart-centered ego is loving ourselves 100% completely, loving all parts of us, but also loving each other, that none of us is better or worse than anybody else, that somebody living in a mansion is not better than us, and somebody living on the street corner is not less than us. Somebody with a drug habit is not less than us. Somebody who's, a pope or living in the divine top of the church, they're not better than us. Each one of us are equal. We're each a divine spark, and we're each here to express who we are 100%. So how this affects our money is that when we love ourselves completely, there's a vibration that happens, because love is the highest vibration that's out there. And when we can love ourselves and love each other at an equal level, I got a cough. Excuse me. When we can love ourselves at an equal level with everybody else, it raises our vibration and it raises our financial vibration, so that we can allow ourselves to receive love. We can allow ourselves to receive financial support. We can receive support and acceptance from everybody else, but also from ourselves. So this is why it's so important for us to be able to go back. I mean, with the child, you wouldn't want your child to think terrible things about themselves. You wouldn't want your children to think that they weren't important and that they weren't, a divine spark. You'd want them to feel confident in who they are. And that's what our divine creator wants for us with our higher selves and our source, our universe, however you want to decide and recognize the universal consciousness. We want each other to love each other, right? Peace to all of us. And when we allow ourselves that energy of acceptance and love, no matter what, it increases our vibration, which then shifts our financial reality if we allow ourselves to receive it. Even though it's been, I've been one that has shut myself down from receiving love, from receiving support, unless I was doing the hard work and getting it all done because of my feeling of not being worthiness, because I know my shadow side and I know my light side. But I've had to shift that relationship within myself to find that love of myself, so that I can shift my interactions with people, so I can shift my openness. Because even though my heart's been broken and my heart's been betrayed, it's even more important for us to open up to that space of love and acceptance from other people and from ourselves. So allow that divine spark of love to live within you, and allow yourself to love yourself as you are 100%. Love the shadow side, love the dark side, love the light side, because without the shadow side, there is no light. it comes together. It's that yin and the yang. It's the both of them that gets to survive. They get to be together in order for us to shift and change our consciousness. And when we can love that journey, because that journey was the school of life for us to learn who we are, what our purpose is, what we're meant to do, what we're meant to be. So that's the divine ego. The divine ego is centered in self rather than self-centered ego. So find a place for yourself to love yourself, see that spark within you, and heal that relationship, that love relationship that you have with yourself, knowing that it doesn't mean having the divine ego doesn't mean that you think you're better than anybody else, but that you can say, hey, I am awesome. I love who I am. I accept who I am, and I love you just the same, because you are just as important as I am. We are all important. We're in this together, and it's time for us to step up to that divine spark that we are. So I love you, my divine money peeps. I will see you next Sunday when we're going to go part 3 of the divine ego into the next concept, which I'm super excited about. And I look forward to seeing you then. Have a beautiful Sunday. Peace. Peace in.